Hi everyone, my name's Ercy and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the wedding I got invited to. Well, not really. This is the white wedding book tag. If you want to see my answers to this tag, then I hope you stick around. So I was tagged to do this video by Dom over at Dominish Books, and he is a great resource for fantasy. He reviews tons of fantasy on his channel. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description box of this video. That way you guys can go check him out, subscribe. He's really great on responding back on Discord or with his comments and stuff. He's just a really great guy on the platform. So I hope you guys consider checking him out. But yeah, I believe he wound up just creating this video. He just felt like doing it and he created a tag video for this where we're going to a wedding. He wound up tagging me and inviting me along to join the party. I think I'm a good wedding guest. I like to dance. I like to mingle. My gift is usually some money in a card. I put it with the stack of the cards with the money. That way the bride and groom can go and buy their own stuff for their house. But anyways, this tag is pretty simple. We're just kind of going with the wedding saying. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, and something white just for the heck of it. So let's just get to the answers to this tag. So the first prompt of this tag is something old. And so for this, I chose two books. The first one is the oldest text I believe that I have, and that's the Iliad by Homer. This translation is by Samuel Butler. This is an ancient Greek epic poem written around 750 BC. It is the story of the Trojan War and the sort of quarrels between King Agamemnon and the warrior Achilles. So I believe this is like the oldest text in my collection. Not the translation, obviously, but you know, the oldest work in my collection. So the Iliad by Homer. The next book I'm going to talk about for something old is Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. This is the oldest physical book, as in not from when I got it, but just the oldest published or oldest printed book, I should say. This book was printed in, I believe, 1958, if I'm correct. But I found this in like a used bookstore in North Carolina. And this is the story of Anne Frank. She kept a diary while her and her family were in hiding. They were a Jewish family hiding out during the Second World War, where the Nazis were hunting the Jews. Anne Frank wound up keeping a diary or a journal of like her thoughts, where we really got to know her and her family through this time. And it's sort of a story of hope, telling about her aspirations, her hopes and dreams, and just her experience living in hiding. So yeah, this is Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. This is a very important book that I feel like everyone should read. Moving on to something new. Again, I'm indecisive. I feel like I'm just indecisive for all of these answers, except for one. For this one, I'm going to talk about the newest book that I purchased and the newest book published, or the latest published book that I own. So the first one I'm going to talk about is The Gold Persimmon by Lindsay Mirbaum. I see this being classified as a queer horror story online. It was just recently published in October of this year. I have this book thanks to Raul over on Raul Reads, so thank you very much. I'll also leave his channel link in the description box of this video. But this is a dual perspective and dual reality or multiple dimension kind of story centered around this hotel called the Gold Persimmon. This book explores themes like grief, sexuality, surveillance, and the nature of storytelling. So very, very interesting. And then I wound up going to a library book sale not too long ago, like a couple days ago. And I wound up finding the fifth book to the Dark Tower series, and that's The Wolves of Kala. And this is a hardcover edition of this book. And y'all, this is so big. Yo, these books to this series are huge. But anyways, this is a hardcover, practically brand new, and I got it for $5. So I think that was pretty cool. So I wound up getting this and a few other books, but you know, I just want to talk about this one real quick. The next prompt is something borrowed. And for this one, I don't have any physical library books, or I don't really borrow books from other people just because I don't know that many people around here. We just recently moved out here, so I don't know that many people out here. I do borrow books from my library, particularly audiobooks. So the one that I'm currently listening to right now is Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Kalanita. And this is a Twisted Tale book from, the Disney book series. And this is a Frozen retelling. And the idea of this one is like, what if Anna and Elsa never met? I'm only about like an hour into it so far, and like it's all right. I mean, it's a little over dramatic for what it needs to be, but I mean, it's a YA book, so there's that. The next prompt is something blue, and for this, I'm super indecisive because I have so many blue books. So what I wound up doing was making a blue stack of books because I'm so indecisive. But here's my stack. And I'm going to go through each of these very, very quickly, but I made a little stack of blue books. The first one is The Odyssey by Homer. This specific translation is by George Herbert Palmer. The next blue book is Pachinko by Minji Lee. And this is historical fiction, kind of multi-generational story about this Korean immigrant family. The next blue book I have is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, and this is a children's fantasy book, fairy tale. If it's fairy tales, are they still considered fantasy books? That's my question to you guys, and answer below in the comments because I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. Do you guys still consider fairy tales to be fantasies? I think they are. It's just children's fantasy, right? That's my question to you guys. The next one I have is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, and this is a YA book, the third one to the Hunger Games trilogy. I haven't read that fourth one, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I think it's called. I haven't read that one. I want to read it, but I'm a little nervous because a lot of people have been bashing that one. But I still want to read it because I've read through all three of these. My completionist brain wants me to read that next one. But anyways, here's Mockingjay. Another YA book, a lot of blue YA books, right? The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And this is a story about two young kids who are terminally ill, and I believe they fall in love. So this is, I guess, their story. The next blue book I have is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, and this is the uncensored original edition. This book is messed up. If you know, you know. Very, very important book, though, in terms of creating policies for the FDA, food safety, worker safety, very, very important expose on the meat industry in the early 1900s. So, yep, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. The next one I have is Ulysses by James Joyce. This book was originally published in 1922, but, very blue book. The last blue book I have is The Hunting Wives by May Cobb, and this is a thriller. So yeah, that was my stack of blue books. The next prompt to this tag is something white, and again, because I'm indecisive, I wound up creating a stack of white books. So again, I'll go through these very quickly one by one. The first book that I have here is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. And this is a very old book from Spain. It's believed to be the first modern novel. This specific edition is translated by Walter Starkey. So there you go. The next book that I have is the UK edition of The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first of the Mistborn trilogy. This is the only one that I've read. When I did read this, it was a very busy time of my life, so I had a lot of distractions. So I need to give this another go and then finish out the trilogy. But I did like it, but I wasn't like head over heels, but I'm blaming that on myself. But yeah, The Final Empire. The next white book, well, white and blue, it can kind of go for both categories, is The Song of Achilles. This is the UK edition of this book by Madeline Miller, and this is a historical fiction, fantasy, Greek retelling book. Lots of genre classifications. The next one I have is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, classic fiction book from the 1920s. Okay, it was copywritten in 1925, and then the copyright was renewed in 1953. But this specific edition, this specific book was printed in 2004. So lots of dates. The next white book that I have is The Sexual Contract by Carol Pateman. This is a nonfiction book. It's a work of political philosophy used in feminist theories. So yeah, I used this like in grad school and stuff, and I kept it. The next one I have is a memoir by Elvis Duran called Where Do I Begin? Stories I Sort of Remember from a Life Lived Out Loud. He is a radio disc jockey from New York. His morning show is called Elvis Duran in the Morning Show, and I used to listen to him all the time when I lived in New York. So I wound up picking up his copy of his memoir, and it was really funny. The next one I have is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the first book of the Poppy War trilogy, and this is a fantasy series. The last book I'm going to talk about is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, and this is a, I believe, historical fiction, but I think it's like multiple timelines, multiple perspectives, kind of like Cloud Atlas, where we have different storylines that kind of are connected, I believe, by like a book. I wound up getting this book from Sheryl over on Shelf Improvement. I'll also have her channel linked down below. So yeah, there we go. So the last prompt to this tag is witnesses or guests. So I get to invite some people to the wedding. What a great concept where the guests are allowed to invite other guests to join the party. So I'm with it. The first person I'm going to tag or invite to the party is Sandy from MsReads A. She is so lovely. She is so nice. She has such a wonderful personality, and she has a really diverse taste in books. And so I am inviting you along to the wedding. Next up, I'm going to invite Steve from Steve Talks Books and Stuff. He says he hardly gets invited to do tags, so you're invited. Which is crazy because he's always hosting so many people over to his channel. So always the host, never the guest, right? But not this time. You are invited, my friend. I'm also inviting Julian from Between the Lines. And I recently learned from one of his videos that he is a video editor and videographer. It's time to take a break from filming those weddings and come be a guest by filming your version of the tag. And finally, I'm tagging Maza from Maza Booktuber. He and his wife just welcomed a beautiful baby boy. So congratulations to you and your wife. So if you want to take a quick break to join the party, you are more than welcome to do so. Well, that's it. That's the tag. That's the white wedding tag. Thank you, Dom, for tagging me to do this video. It was a lot of fun talking about all my books. I will leave links to everyone mentioned in this video in the description box of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me give my answers to these prompts, and I hope you got a lot of good book recommendations along the way. If you'd like, you can leave your answers to the prompts in the comment section of this video. It's always open for any and all comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you all soon.